Will we have free will in heaven? Yes. The end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Okay, seriously, let's engage with this question. First, what's the problem here? Well, perhaps the strongest argument for atheism is the problem of evil. If God exists, why is there so much evil? Now, however a Christian answers this, the answer usually involves a reference to free will. Now, the atheist can then point out that in heaven, there is no evil. So is there no free will in heaven? I personally think that such a conclusion would be a mistake. We will have free will in heaven. The atheist can then ask, well, then can you sin in heaven? Different Christians answer differently, but me, speaking for myself, would actually say that, yes, you can sin in heaven. Now, no one ever will sin in all of eternity in heaven, but they have the power to do so. I think that this is the most biblically faithful answer. Satan was in heaven, yet rebelled against God and was cast out. Now, Satan isn't a human, but the closest account that we have of humans in heaven is the paradise of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in a heaven on earth scenario, and yet still freely sinned and rebelled against God. This doesn't even mention all the angels who rebelled against God as well. Now, this raises the question, if we can sin in heaven, how come we won't ever use this power? How can God ensure that we'll never rebel? This question can be answered with Molinism! Molinism is the theology that God knows how any creature would freely act in any scenario. So if I'm in any scenario with factors X, Y, Z influencing me, God knows whether I would sin or whether I would not sin. So God can see the branching possibilities of the future and ensure that only the scenarios we're ever in are ones where we don't sin. For example, if in heaven the existence of some tree would somehow lead to a chain reaction which eventually leads to me choosing to sin, then God would simply never have created that tree. And he'll be doing this throughout all of eternity, ensuring that no one ever sins or rebels against him. Now, the example given is a bit of a silly one, and I don't want you to get the impression that I think that we'll always be on the verge of rebelling against God. I don't think that. This is just an illustration. This raises yet another question. Why doesn't God just do that now and make us all live in a paradise in complete harmony? If he can ensure that we have free will without any sin or evil in heaven, why doesn't he do the same thing on earth? Well, this is just speculation, but here's a possible answer. It may be that if God does not allow any evil or sin on earth, then eventually a point will be reached in heaven where no matter what scenario we're put in, we freely turn towards even greater evil and greater sin. However, if God allows for some evil and sin now, then he is able to ensure that for all of eternity that no future sin and evil will ever follow afterwards. There is a certain intuition about this idea. If we were created in a perfect state of affairs without ever having known what suffering was, like Adam and Eve, Satan, and all the other demons, we would wonder if the grass were greener on the other side and harden our hearts in rebellion against God and become unreachable to his love. But if we came into being in a state that we understood to be evil and corrupt, which God then pulled us out of, there would be no desire for us to ever return. Therefore, God would be completely justified in allowing some sin and evil. An atheist might retort, some evil? You mean like the Holocaust, hurricanes, disease, earthquakes, fires, and all that? Yeah, no, that's a little bit more than some evil. Now, in answering, I need to stress that the evils that exist in the world are all terrible and should not be downplayed. However, if Christianity is true, then all humans are immortal, so we need to look at this with an infinite perspective. Our universe may continue to exist for billions of years full of evil. If that entire period of time was represented by this line segment, then we need to view that evil in the context of the infinitely long afterlife, in which there will be an infinitely long period of healing marked by joy and perfect love. So if we put on the scales evil of earth and infinite good of heaven, then the scales tip infinitely towards God making our world both the good and the evil. Now, the image that this might give you is a God who impersonally balances the checks and sums of pain and pleasures before deciding to create the world. However, in Christianity, God himself took on that pain as well, so that we may have the eternity of pure bliss with him. In conclusion, there is free will both in heaven and on earth, but there will be no evil in heaven because we learned our lesson that sin sucks on earth. That's my thoughts on this subject. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please click below to subscribe if you want more content like this. Thank you for watching.